Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that an all-party panel has been established to fix Alberta's child intervention system, and given that the Minister of Human Services said in question period last week that if the panel members care about these issues, which I believe they do, they will work with me to find solutions. So to the Honourable Premier, Albertans care about all of the Serenities out there. How are you going to protect them in the interim while this panel does its work?
Good question. Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. I'd like to first take this opportunity to correct a piece of information I gave in answer to a different question when I was talking about the proposed budget cuts of the last government. It was roughly a $30 million cut to a $600 million child prevention budget, one that was expected to happen over a couple of years that was reversed and in fact increased. But I needed to correct that because I was incorrect, Mr. Speaker, previously. As I've said before, the Minister and our government are doing a number of things to try to work to prevent the risks that are presented to children at risk throughout our province every day. One of the key issues, Mr. Speaker, is poverty. We have worked quickly to ameliorate that, and we will continue.
Thank you. First supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Given that I have a proposal for Serenity's law, which amends the Child, Youth and Family Enhancement Act to make it the lawful responsibility of adults to notify police of a child who needs intervention, and I will table this today. And given that this is my private member's bill, but because it is at least a year away, I recommend that we act on it now. To the Premier, more Serenities are being victimized as I speak. Are you willing to ask for unanimous consent of this House to stay one more day to pass legislation that can start saving children's lives immediately?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the member's effort to put forward a substantive recommendation like that. Indeed, that's exactly the kind of thing that I anticipate having us work on with the panel to bring forward legislation in the spring, because that's exactly the kind of practical solution that could help close some of the gaps and loopholes that we know exist. So I look forward to working with him, should he be the nominee from his caucus on the panel. And it's exactly the kind of idea that we need to move forward on, and thank him for it, Mr. Speaker.
Second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is so simple. We could do it today. Given that last Thursday, Deputy Premier made the following statement in QP, all of our children deserve an opportunity to have the very best life, and I challenge everyone to help us do that. Mr. Speaker, I took that challenge. And given that I cannot go home for Christmas knowing that more Serenities are out there being victimized while we wait for a panel to start its work, to the Premier, please put the politics aside. For the love of Alberta's children, do not allow this House to recess before Serenity's law is passed.
Mr. Speaker, it is really kind of rich to hear the member opposite talk about putting the politics aside. I think it is a good idea. But, Mr. Speaker, for the member to come in today 10 minutes or 20 minutes before the House begins with a request for somebody else to draft a bill that is not yet drafted, to then suggest that we should somehow change the rules to run it through today in one go when it's not ready, it's out of order. After 44 years of failing to address it in the past, Mr. Speaker, I have committed